big round of applause for the speakers once again. It's always a good idea. All right, so before we head in to the debate, I would like for everyone to understand that Manish sir will be going for, Jason sir will be going against, Ashwini ma'am will be, well, playing the devil's advocate. And of course, hopefully, once in a while, I'll join her to do that. All right, so if you're all set, are we all set? I would like to obviously share with you, everyone, that we will be also, right at the end of the conversation and discussion, take a few questions from everyone, because that would be just nice to understand what your takes are and if any one of us made any sense and if you guys were listening. That's the final test. All right. So, well, the topic for the day, it's a very, very, very important one. I think it has a lot of gravitas. It will obviously be very thought-provoking. Is basically, India should build its own AI foundational models and not rely on foreign ones, right? So, to open things up, this is what I would like to say, lady and gentlemen, which is building AI models from scratch requires immense resources. Is it prudent for India to invest heavily in developing foundational models, or should we focus on application-level innovations using existing models? The floor is yours. You have a smile on your face because it seems like I am speaking your language. So, Jason sir, would you like to take it up? And we'll start off the conversation.
See, I would say, if we are building, if we have to build our own foundational models right from scratch, of course, we can do it. We are India, but we are yet to catch up on many things, technology right now, including artificial intelligence. And historically, we have been in the same boat. Now, if you take the Industrial Revolution, every other aspect of technology which has been around, we've always been playing traditionally catch up. But having said that, after a point in time, we have not only gone ahead, improvised, but we want become one of the leaders in this world, in every piece of technology that exists now. Now, taking a cue from that, one key element which I'd like to put in terms of the AI aspect is it requires extreme levels of compute, the hardware infrastructure, which comes into the picture. Now, when I'm talking compute, I'm talking of massive compute. Do we have the infrastructure that helps us build these kind of things at scale? That's a question we have to answer. I would say not yet at the moment. We are getting there. The second part is that what about data centers? The huge amount of data that is required to enhance, transform, load, crunch, train, etc. Do we have the ability to do so from a hardware standpoint? Do we have the networks? Do we have the resilience? Do we have the electricity that demands all of these kind of things? I would say all of these things, we are progressing towards that. Okay, now that's point one which I wanted to make. Point two is, okay, in terms of the number of patents that is being generated on, let's say, original artificial intelligence work, are we there yet? Now, the statistics are there out in the open for everybody to look at. We are also playing a little bit of catch up there. The world has, and our adversaries in terms of nearest neighbor, in terms of countries which compete with us economically, they are far ahead. So what is the recourse? Considering all these points, I would say, let us build on what is existing. Let us improve as we have always done, and not just improve, go beyond in time. Use our own jugaad, as we say, and go beyond whatever has been built. And in time, when these models come up, we will, the hardware and the intellectual property levels come up, we will then make a smooth transition. Thank you.
Fair point. Ashwini ma'am, would you like to go ahead and maybe debunk what Jason sir said? Would you agree? Would you not agree? And
I
after your conversation, would you like to throw it to Manish, sir, and make life a little more difficult for him?
Okay, so I partially agree with Jason. Okay, one word that I didn't agree with was the word adversaries. I would not call them our adversaries. We can call them our partners. If they've already done some work, okay, we'll reuse some of it and build what we want to build on it. Now, one of the numbers said that the indic data set that they are using was less than 0.01%. Okay, but we cannot rely on on those type of data sets. So obviously availability of data, the cost of hardware that is required, do we really want to invest right now, or do we want to build on what is there and make it more Indian for us instead of saying that we are building something from scratch? But yeah, I would like to hear what Manish wants to say first, and then I'll probably go again.
Sure.
Manish, sir.
No, thank you. I think I completely understand the amount of data required, amount of hardware required, amount of cost or the investment required to build the model. But think about it, right? Probably in India, we I think second or third largest, I would say the AI, elite people, right? If you would in the world. But do we have anything? Maybe not, right? And then I think, on the other side, if you look at India really stand in the pivotal moment of digital and technology evolution, right? Think about or look at that UPI infrastructure, look at the Aadhaar, ONDC, all has grown from the India, right? And that has put India into the world map or in the upper quadrant of the world in digital transformation. Why not AI? It requires heavy investment, but if we are aspiring to be a developed nation by 2047, if we don't build the foundation of AI layers, I'm not sure how much we would be successful, right? So I think we have to look at how much we want to go, but if we don't make any step, I think we'll be always in the catching spot.
Crucial point, which I have for all three, which is a perfect segue to what you just mentioned, Manish sir, is national sovereignty and data control. If we are talking about us being a superpower, like you mentioned, by 2047, sovereignty and data control is a very, very important cornerstone as far as that is concerned. Sarvam AI, an Indian startup, is working on a large language model tailored for Indian languages and contexts, right? Now, the point that is, while sovereignty is crucial, right, and I'm of course again going to throw it open, the cost and expertise required to develop, which Jason sir mentioned, competitive AI models might outweigh the benefits. Shouldn't we focus on areas where we can lead without reinventing the wheel? This time, I would like for you, Manish sir,
No,
to start.
I think, it's not the point of reinventing the wheel, right? I think a lot of evolution has already been done. I don't think so we need to start from the scratch what probably OpenAI would have done it, a few years back. I think we have to take it and start putting, putting the things forward. Think about, right, we are living in a world where geopolitical dependency is so high, right? If we continue to rely some of these basic foundation to the Western nation or whichever it could be, we are probably giving our critical resources on a rent to somebody else, right? Or outsourcing the critical infrastructure. That is the severe risk. It can put us into the risk of sovereignty, what you just talked about. Inclusivity, right? We are culturally diverse nation, right? If our model doesn't support these kind of thing, probably after a few years, probably everybody would call us an Indian, not the diversity what we have it. So that's what I would say, that we need to make somewhere these steps forward. And what government is trying to do it, I think it's the right step in the mission, India mission to AI.
Please don't feel shy, Jason sir. I know you're itching to go ahead.
All right. While there are certainly very good points put forward, I'll come from a different perspective. See, it is good to say we should have sovereignty. Data is critical. It's the new oil. It's the foundation of what we are going to build into the future. But having said that, practically, how does it work? Now, if you take some of the most stringent data protection and privacy laws in the world, none of them say that you should, or at least to the largest extent, do not say that my data should reside only in my country. It says, okay, given certain parameters, given certain level of equivalence, you can take the liberty to harvest the data in country A, outsource it to country B, provided country B has equivalent levels of protection, adherence to the in international obligations, laws of the land, etc. Now, coming from a business standpoint, it does make sense for companies which are operating at a multinational scale in terms of cost. It also makes sense for companies which build products for a globalized future, and that's where most money lies. So, does it not make more sense for us to be enabling a more globalized world? I mean, even if I take the case of India as well, the data protection laws do not go to the extent of harnessing an India-only approach, because we have traditionally considered the world as one family, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, right? So I would take a cue from that.
Yeah, I want to add another point here. See, for no other country, the priority is going to be India, right? It can only be Indians' priority that we take care of our own data, we take care of our own needs that we have to build these models or to build the inclusivity that we want, or looking at the regional and the linguistic diversity that we bring to the table. But also it is our responsibility, and that is where I think from where Mr. Jason was also coming, that it's not just data residency norms, but we also want to control the usage of what we are getting from outside. So it doesn't necessarily mean that when we are using someone else's built model, our data will go out. We can still put some access restrictions, controls over it as a government policy to ensure that the models are coming to India, but the data is not going out.
Okay. Well, talking about the fact that what Manish sir said, it is important to maybe use resources, it is important to build our own resources, and I guess, ma'am, what you mentioned just right now, to have a reliance on our own selves. Talking about reliance, Reliance is building India's biggest data center in Jamnagar. So the fact is that directly correlates to economic growth and innovation, which is our next aspect, very important. Reaching a superpower by 2047, that is a very, very important ingredient for us to achieve so. So the point is, investing in AI model development can actually spur local innovation, create jobs, and reduce dependency on foreign technologies. So as far as that is concerned, that's a big one, which is going to definitely be something which is going to go on the positive side of building AI foundational models as far as the country goes. Jason sir, would you agree? Would you disagree? Because I obviously would like to get Manish sir to weigh in on that. Post your thoughts on this.
And you'd like me to disagree, traditionally.
You would not like to disagree?
No, I'm asking.
Please, I would like for you to elaborate that.
Okay, I'll play the spoil spot here for now.
The fact that, yes, you're being pessimistic about economic growth, yes, go ahead.
No, he asked me to do that. All right. So, see, we've all been on the mantra of make in India, go vocal for local, etc., etc. We've been a few years down the line on that. How much have we done? Obviously, a lot. How much is there for us to cover? Again, circling back to the first point, to reach. I'm not going to compare against countries which are at equivalent level. I'm going to compare myself against countries which are the best in the business here. And that's why, we are in the top 5 as far as the largest economies are concerned. We should be comparing ourselves with the best. In that regard, if you are looking at things from that perspective, does the localized way of doing things first and then moving on to this thing, does that make sense? Partly yes, but if you look at the traditional Indian IT ecosystem, we've been more services than product as a company. Do we have the large-scale mindset to do what it takes right away from the ground up? I'm talking today, I'm talking tomorrow. Is it possible? Will it take its own sweet time for us to ramp up to those levels. And if we, and how much, what kind of price are we willing to pay in terms of the time taken to ramp up? Will it come to a stage wherein we have done too little, too late? That's the point which I wanted to throw across.
Manish sir.
Yeah, no, I think when you talk about the economic and the innovation, I think it goes hand in hand, right? When you start, getting into the innovation, it becomes the virtuous cycle of innovation, right? The investment start coming in, you start driving the indigenous, the IP, right? And then why not, right? If you look at,
Sorry, I would like you to weigh in on what Jason sir just mentioned regarding services vis-a-vis products, because I believe that's a very, very important point for you to probably weigh in on, sir.
So services, we are more
He's
on
saying
the
that yes, we are more inclined towards services vis-a-vis our own products, which, to be honest, is something which we need to break as a mindset, as a thought, as an understanding, and I believe we have done so as well.
Got it. No, I think, we have been traditionally, if you look at, right, we have been more of services kind of, generation. We have all the people who are in the services, sort of thing. And that probably has, inculcated in our mindset. And that's where the reason is we are not very, very product innovative kind of community, right? I'm sure the people, in the Google, Meta, or, you look at the OpenAI and all of it, a lot of Indians would be sitting and building these products, right? But not in India, but in the US. And that's the, barriers what we have it in the cultural society, right? And that's where I think we need to break it. And that can only be break when we start taking some big bets.
Ma'am, do you believe that it is time that we actually break it? We have so much at stake here in a big way. We're talking about data, we're talking about sovereignty, we're talking about economic growth, and maybe that is something which we should go ahead and spur ourselves on to achieve.
I think we've already broken it. I come from a product company. I think maximum people here come from product companies. So if you look at everything that we are doing today, obviously there's a whole lot of services work that India still does, and that adds a lot of economic value to us. But if we look at the innovation and the new gen startups that are coming up, everybody is product oriented. We can just do a quick check. How many people here are from product companies?
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that makes my point.
Yeah, you made your point, ma'am. It's a nice
Can I ask one more question? How many of these people has the global product into it? Has gone globally and selling it? Build it here and gone globally. See the hand.
I think a big round of applause for yourselves while your hands are up.
Right.
Nice.
So, it's a beginning. So like I said, we've broken it. We'll get there. So whosever hands were not up, don't worry. We will get there. So next year, probably your hands will be up. Yeah.
That's a point. That's a point I want to make, right? I think this is where they're breaking the barrier and start getting into that mindset where more hands comes up, where we are innovating and selling it to the outside.
So I think my question of whether we are ramping up quickly is answered effectively in this room.
Absolutely it is. Geopolitics, we had spoken about this, and it's a very important aspect which I think we really need to touch upon, because given the scenario today, especially how Trump is such a good friend, just an example, the fact that geopolitics is changing, it's dynamic, it's constantly, well, he gets up on another side of the bed and he has a different thought, and then, well, we all know what's going on there. But the point that I'm trying to make is, should that not actually push us in a big way and give us that sense of momentum for us to actually be independent in terms of building AI foundational models? I would like to give a quote. As AI becomes more powerful, countries are likely to impose restrictions on sharing these technologies. India cannot afford to be left behind. This, end quote. This is by Mr. Shrikant Velamakanni, who's the co-founder of Fractal.ai. So, over to you.
Me?
Yes?
Yeah, no, I think, very well said, right? I think, we are living, as I said, we are living in the very, very different geopolitical situations, right? Be it tariff, be it Russia, Ukraine, and all of it. I think any day we can get imposed if we are not independent, right? And that's where probably the government mission of becoming the, Atmanirbhar Bharat is what all about, right? And then if you look at what we are expecting, the AI is disrupting in heavy way in all stream of the, verticals and horizontal, vertical, whichever stream you say that AI is coming. And the foundation is for the AI is, in this context, is LLM model, right? If we lose out that control to the Western world, we are at a very, very serious risk, right? We may be catching up, but it doesn't mean that, hey, we have not bought a house, we would never buy a house, right? Whenever a situation comes, we have to. And that's what probably will make us independent, make us, self-reliant to keep up into the world.
Conversely, Jason sir,
Yes. So,
geopolitical tensions are unpredictable, right? Countries are likely to impose restrictions, as we are talking that about. Shouldn't we actually focus on building resilient systems that can adapt to external challenges rather than solely on model development?
see, I take a slight departure from, I'll mix both of these responses. We are talking of self-reliance, Atmanirbhar Bharat, etc. But if you look at the concept of India as a whole, and the current geopolitical situation where we are at, we have hostile neighbors, we have people from, we have economies which are imposing tariffs, like you said. Now, if you consider the overall equation, and it automatically implies that we should go back to the playbooks that we have always had and become more of a globalized influence. And that's how we'll be able to counterbalance this, negative economic scrutiny that we are having right now, counter some heavyweight countries in that regard. Now, how do we exactly do that? Again, if we take on a more globalized approach towards building AI, essentially giving the world an expertise in AI, how do we do that? We surely have the services advantage for that. Should we not capitalize, make that as one of our flagships, quietly build products, scale up, and then have both of these things rolled out? That way, we manage to ensure strategic objectives, including national security in terms of international relations and the balance of powers that come along with it, and also have our own AI growth story to script. I'll leave it at that.
Ashwini ma'am, would you like to weigh in on that? A little more circumspect, maybe a little more balanced approach by Jason sir?
Yeah, so I completely understand from where both of these are coming. I mean, at one side we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, at one side we are talking about whatever is built, but what we need for India needs to be now built. So there's a very interesting concept called as pragmatic nationalism. Okay, so we want to be nationalists, yes, we want India to be self-sufficient, we want us to be self-reliant. But is building foundation models going to take us there, or is solving our today's issues using what we have help us build that foundation where we can build? I think all of us here agree that we have to build our models, but I think the only debate is, do we want to do it today versus do we want to do it, say, probably a couple of years later, or when it becomes more accessible, when it becomes more economically feasible for us.
Or when we are actually forced to do it. That's
Yes.
another third dimension.
Right, or when there's no option left.
Yes.
So, and then we come up with a jugaad where, we will find out some way to build it ourselves at probably at a fraction of a cost what everyone is speculating. So yeah, we may get there, but like I said, it's too, we are playing a catch-up game, but I think our focus today should be on building what is missing instead of rebuilding what we already have.
You wanted to
No,
say something?
I
Add
think
to that.
I think this
I
point
would say Jugad.
Jugaad.
We've always been good at it. We should play by our strengths.
Sir, I think you and I need to get t-shirts printed. Okay, so well, I guess the takeaway from that particular aspect or sub-thought is the fact that we need to be a little more pragmatic. We need to be a little more balanced in our approach. Maybe wait and watch. Try to, go ahead and ensure that we are prioritizing on our strengths at the moment. But of course, a lingering question still remains, which is what I mentioned, ma'am. The third dimension, I hope we are not at a point where you are pushed against a wall, because that is something which we need to be extremely sensitive and mindful about. We don't want to be in that position, because then, well, that basically just throws open a can of worms.
It would, we will never know, right? The way things work nowadays. We can say, it's like never say never. But we cannot make such large decisions on individuals' behaviors, right?
Okay.
You know, the individual that you named earlier. So we cannot take that and consider that, okay, this may happen and that's the reason we should do it. We should do it, but let us do it for our own reasons than someone else's reasons.
Manish sir, Jason sir in the beginning had mentioned this, it's an important point, cost and the resource allocation. He had spoken about that at length. So while developing AI models is costly, we are all aware of that, the long-term benefits of having control over fundamental technologies are invaluable. I would like to obviously go ahead and give you an example here. Sarvam AI raised $41 million in Series A funding to develop India's first native AI foundational model. So, do you believe that that is something which is very obviously encouraging? I believe it is. Do you believe that that should be the direction that we should be taking in terms of the pure aspect of not really wondering so much about the cost, not so much about the resource, and we should really put our heads down and start to say, okay, wait a minute, this is going to help us in terms of our own independence?
Well, I think, both of my, fellow panelists had talked about the balanced approach, right? And then I'm not saying that, hey, we need to go with just one layer of the, if we put the AI infrastructure, there are multiple layers, right? The hardware layer, we have the model layer, and then application layer, and so on and so forth, right? And I'm not saying that, hey, we should just focus on one layer of it. I think we have to focus on all the layers, because we have the resources, we have the willpower, right? And, I won't say that we don't have money, right? I think we have now money as well, right, which we can spend. So we need to look at all the layers. Obviously, prioritization, reprioritization can be on the areas where we are probably, world may be struggling. That's where we can pitch in and create some economic value for ourselves, and then focus on all the layers. Because in the data or AI world, these two things are going to be the power for the future.
That's a very good point. I mean, that's really hard to go against, but here, I'll try. See, when we are talking of foundational models, what do we need? We need compute, again, basic. We need data. We need structured data, or data that has gone through a sanitation process, data that we can depend upon. Essentially, when we talk about it in cybersecurity parlance, confidentiality, integrity, and key point, availability of the right kind of data. We churn a lot of data. How much of it is AI ready, AI native? How much of it can be harnessed? A lot of this data, which is in harnessable format, is again on cloud ecosystems. Ingress, egress costs. Anybody from the IT cloud engineering folks here? Show of hands. I think you will you will relate to me on this, on egress, ingress costs and the amount it takes. Whatever kind of storage that we are talking about, cold tire, hot tire, all of those kind of things and all. Now, that is typically the kind of data that can be used. Are we in a situation to do that? Unfortunately, not there, not yet there, until we have, we do have localized infrastructure, but that again, the effective controls against usage of it at Indian prices is not yet there. So the $1 million question here, which was raised by You mentioned Series A funding, etc. One counterweight approach which I had read about was, is this kind of money enough to build things at scale? Obviously, once the AI model, foundational model has been up and running for quite some time, you will be able to even out the costs. You will be able to, but then do we have enough in the ecosystem? Obviously, we are growing as a country economically, but do we have enough per company, per ecosystem to make it work? That's not a very easy question to answer.
Ashwini,
Yeah, so I think we are still, I mean, most of the points that we've been talking about is India being a consumer of this technology,
sure.
right? But by building our own foundation models, we can also become a provider to other countries, which is also going to be a good economic advantage for us.
Yes, absolutely.
In addition to the points that we have been speaking earlier, but and it can also help us, you know, be the superpower, or get towards that 2047 goal of ours. But but obviously there is an investment that is required, but there would be some ways of we getting it back if we become a provider in addition to building this just for our own consumption.
I would like to add to this.
Yeah.
Do you believe that it should be a public-private partnership as far as this is concerned? Should it be only public? Should it be only private? I would like for you to talk about that, shed light on that. In terms of for us to build that kind of resource, do you think that it should be a concerted effort?
It should be a public-private partnership because it cannot work only in a private mode or only in public mode, obviously. So it should be a public-private partnership, and there's a lot of focus that I think even government is doing in the same direction. The only thing which I haven't read about or haven't seen is how data is going to be being made available to the private partners in this ecosystem. So once I think that data issue is resolved, we should probably have some more clarity on this approach that government has
Jason,
taken.
sir.
Yeah, I'll second the first part. It should definitely be a PPP model that evens out a lot of things, solves a lot of things for us, which I've just said. I'd like to digress a little bit on the data sharing models. Yes, we have the Digital Personal Data Protection Act in place, which mandates quite a few things. Now, if coverage of that is extended, which I duly hope it will be, to all sorts, all types of organizations and all, we should be able to share data in a, in a free and fair manner. So that, I think, is a very enabling thing which has been brought out by the government of India, and we look forward to those aspects, capitalizing those aspects. Key point is, people, especially AI healthcare, essentially AI healthcare diagnostics, etc. The kind of data that is required is of a very sensitive nature. And then there is a lot of scope in that for foundational models to be built, essentially. Now, availability of that data, especially, has been not so easy. Now, with a PPP model, there could be enough oversight, a way to build safer models, safely build models without abuse. Thank you.
Cypher 2025, we say it loud and we say it very, very proud, sir. Make AI in India. It's not there on the screen, but I just thought I'll mention that. It's an important point. Cultural and linguistic aspects. Very, very important, especially when we talk about us as such a wonderfully rich, culturally rich, diverse country. That should be, I believe, a thought which I would definitely like for everyone to weigh in on. And this is what I would like to say. Krutrim LLM, developed by Indian researchers, is a multilingual foundational model. We're all aware of that. Trained on Indian languages, outperforming some global models in specific tasks. Given the fact that, yes, this is very important, as ma'am had also mentioned a while back, we need to start working towards product, which a lot of us are. We need to start moving towards that direction. The cultural and linguistic aspect, sir, is something which I believe will warrant for us, if not now, eventually, to get into that aspect of building foundational models here. What would you like to say to that?
Well, I would say that that's a serious thing if you look at, right? We all call India as a linguistic superpower, right? I think if I remember well, is around 22 official languages,
Yes.
hundreds or 100 plus, languages which are spoken by more than 10,000
then, of
people.
course, the
10 and
dialects.
dialects, right? Thousands of dialects, right? And every 25 kilometer, you would see that dialect changing, right?
Sure.
And then such a diversity is stuff. I'm not sure, if any other model, the global model or whatever, the Western model, would take those kind of nuances, right? We have seen that a lot of models which are available today, underperform or doesn't perform up to the extent for the Indian languages, right? They don't capture the cultural nuances, right? That's the beauty of India, right? We have a lot of diversity, but we still call as a Bharat or India, right? Whatever we want to call. So protecting that needs a lot of fine-tuning of models based on our data, based on our cultural nuances, and so on and so forth, to keep that cultural sovereignty intact, right? And then if you look at from the economic aspect, just want to add that point we just talked about, right? Why not? India can become a global hub for the multilingual AI
Fair enough.
model and can, start supporting, especially for the global south, and start building the stream. I think you, ma'am, you mentioned that stream of revenue.
Sure.
Economic value in the long term.
Ashwini ma'am. Finally, I'll come to Jason, sir.
Okay. So I think building or catering to the cultural and linguistic diversity is something that we all have been agreeing on in this forum especially. And so there's a lot of work that is already being done in this, especially in the voice.
Yes.
Yes.
So we've heard, I mean, there are a lot of solution providers that are working towards voice chatbots and, I mean, regional chatbots, obviously, and especially catering. And since I come from a lending domain, we have seen a lot of usage of this, especially to the strata where English is not a general language of choice, right? So we have seen a lot of work happening in India on this. Okay, they may be building it on foundation models that have been imported.
Yes.
But that has not stopped us from solving that as a problem.
So you believe that foundational models, I mean, in terms of the cultural and linguistic aspects, is it okay for us to use foreign models? Talking again, I'll hark back to the sovereignty aspect.
We are already using it.
I know.
We are already using it.
I know, but the fact is that the sovereignty aspect I would like to hark back to again, because these are, of course, going to be used by more than 500 million users. For example, Sarvam. I'm just talking about Sarvam.
Right.
I'm harking to Sarvam right now, in terms of their WhatsApp initiation that they've done. So just a thought, and they're very, very, very particular about the fact that they are looking at sovereignty in a big way. So do you believe that that is something that is going to have an impact?
See, that should not stop us from building these products today. Okay, Sarvam coming up with, or India's foundational model being readily accessible to all the private entities. Whenever it is, people can obviously migrate there. But today, do we want to wait that we will not build anything or we will not solve this issue till India has its own foundation model?
Can't they
That
go
is not
hand in
something-
hand? Do you not
They
think
should,
it's
it should go
important?
hand in hand. So we should be doing both. We should be also building our own model, but we should not wait for our solutions based on those models for the model to be ready. We should go ahead, design our solutions, build them, start using it, because we'll learn from it, right? It will probably make our own model better later.
Okay, I'll add to that. Whatever were the past mistakes that have happened, probably, do you not think if we are still playing catch up, to use your words, it might be a great idea for us to actually learn from the others' mistakes, utilize them, and accelerate our build?
Right.
Yes?
Yes, yes.
Finally, she agrees. Jason, sir.
Okay. 22 languages scheduled in the Indian Constitution. I mean, quite, multiply that by at least 5 or 6 dialects per language. Add English, all combinations of all of those things, I've got thousands. add sentiment to that. So, when we talk colloquially among friends, we tell people who's achieved something, up mahano. We can also tell people, up mahano. That sentiment is, and one is sarcasm, the other is admiration. Have we solved for sentiment analysis to
Were
that
you
extent?
saying aap nahalo?
Nahi, mahano.
Oh, acha mahan.
Okay. So, see, if sentiment analysis, to the best of my knowledge, has not been properly solved across languages, across overlapping languages. Now add migrant populations to that. I mean, the way each of your local languages has evolved over the last 10, 15 years. I mean, you look at what original Shuddh Hindi, Shuddh Malayalam, which I have my based on, or anything else. Is it the way it was? Certainly not. And is there value creation in us solving that? I'm talking of value in terms of market value. Wow. Okay. So I would say...
Don't get distracted,
yeah,
sir.
I would say, see, it's a difficult problem to solve. We should definitely pick a cue from the mistakes, just like you rightly pointed out, that others have done, and solve. Again, I'll just take one more example. That we hear of Sanskrit as a base language for a lot of the Indian languages. We hear of Latin in a similar regard to many of the Anglo-Saxon languages, etc., etc. With let's say, with a India-centric approach, we might have solved domestically. What about the global picture? Should we not capitalize on global markets? Should we not look at things from a globalized perspective? There is some overlap, but we should essentially focus, have a more breadth approach towards how we are solving these problems. That's how I'd like to put it.
Fair enough. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that definitely brings us to the end. A big round of applause for the panelists and the speakers. A lot of interesting thoughts that have been thrown up in the air.